The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Wrestling to the Max, Monday Night Raw Review.
Hello and welcome to the Wrestling to the Max Monday Night Raw Review. My name is Brandon Biskobing. I'll be hosting once again, and once again joining me tonight is the co-hostess with the mostest, Liz Pugliese. How's it going, Liz?
Pretty good. How you doing, Brandon?
Not too shabby. Let's get into this crazy mess of a show.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, just a forewarning and a disclaimer. There are certain segments just that went off the rail on this show, and we will probably go off the rail with them tonight. Opening up the show, we get Kurt Angle. Did you see his tweet before the show went on the air?
I did not.
Apparently, he said that he had some big news, and we'll talk about it after this after the segment. But we get the hype package with them talking about the whole Sami Zayn thing, and then also talking about the contract signing for Ronda and Nia Jax, and then Kurt Angle makes his entrance to start off the show, welcomes us, and says that Raw's been on a roll and we're gonna keep it going. Ronda Rousey's in the house, and we'll have the contract signing tonight. So, which was kind of weird, they doubled up on that announcement, because if I remember correctly, that was in the opening package as well. Them talking about them signing, doing the contract signing tonight. And then,
I believe so.
Yeah. And then we get the god-awful music of Stephanie McMahon interrupting Kurt Angle. She asks the crowd to give it up for Kurt and is playing up Kurt, which is hilarious considering how she's been acting lately. She says, let me get right down to it, that, after WrestleMania, it's all water under the bridge between us. You're forgiven, which I don't think anyone believes at all. But she said no hard feelings because she's a leader and a business person, and she'll always do what's best for business, yada, yada, yada. A "you tapped out" chant starts, which was hilarious. But she then continues, and says, hey, with my guidance, you can get to the next level as a leader. But sometimes your emotions get in the way. So she's going to preside over the contract signing tonight, which I saw the chaos that would ensue already coming, although I was expecting it to be a little different, but we'll talk about that later. Kurt says he could always use more guidance. Steph uses that to segue into her talking about Roman Reigns, saying that, he's given Reigns too much slack, and that needs to end tonight. Roman comes out. This was the segment of interruptions. We'll talk. Which even Jonathan Coachman mentioned it. He was like, "This first hour is the interruption hour," which I thought was hilarious that he actually called them out on it. Reigns enters. He says, if you're going to say something, say it to my face about me. And Steph says she doesn't understand this new attitude, this tone in his voice. Which this was kind of good, in a sense, kind of trying to quell the thoughts that most of us have in our head of, everyone knows that he's the chosen one now, and Stephanie basically said, he was like, you're the big dog, you're the leader, and yet you still have this whole woe is me attitude. And they go back and forth. Stephanie claims not to have any favorite superstars, which is completely a huge joke. And they go back and forth about Brock and all of this. And then she talks about how he should take it up with Jinder Mahal, about why he lost his qualifying match and all of this. KO enters, says that, hey, thank you, Roman. I'm in debt to you because you helped me get into that match. And tries to get a thank you, Roman chant going, which was kind of funny. And then they keep on going back and forth. I don't know if this was because the reaction, I know Stephanie is very good at her acting, obviously. But the reaction that she had, I wonder if what KO did there was kind of a la Titus O'Neil with Vince. I don't know. I don't think KO will get the Titus O'Neil treatment if it is the case. But her reaction there was kind of "What are you doing?" kind of reaction. When he put his arm on her shoulder. But they keep on going back and forth. We end up getting a match between KO and Reigns to start off the show, and then they go to break. Long segment. What do you think of this? Well, first off, Kurt said that he was supposed to have a big announcement for it, and obviously with what's been going on in the news with WWE, with the contracts and everything, everyone was thinking that it was going to be something to do with USA and whatnot. But do you think the Rousey thing was the big announcement, or do you think he was gonna say something else before he got interrupted? Because it seemed like he was going somewhere else, and we never got the big announcement. So what do you think? First off,
Yeah, well, I thought there was something else.
Yeah, so did I.
I don't know if they're gonna play it up until to something else so that he one-ups Stephanie, which would be pretty cool. Nice twist. But yeah, it definitely seemed like there was something else.
Yeah.
But it was a long segment.
Oh yeah.
But it actually hit most of its marks as compared to many other extremely long ones.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't bad. I'm not a character Stephanie, fan, so of course everybody cringes when you hear her come out, and then especially when she emasculates everybody. That's gotten old really quick.
Yeah, well, that's why I was kind of hoping that Rousey would basically be the female Stone Cold to her, where
Right.
she basically defended everyone and she could actually touch her, and thus whenever a guy would have a problem with Stephanie, she would come out and back him up,
Right. Ooh, excuse me. Yeah. So for the most part, it wasn't bad.
Yeah.
I can't really.
All in all, it wasn't bad. I'm still not much of a fan of this whole half and half Roman. I'm okay with parts of it, but then the whole oh, the McMahons are out to get me and everything, it just falls flat to me.
It does. I don't think he plays it off very well.
Well, it also doesn't help that everyone that, has any sort of knowledge of WWE knows that he is the top dog.
Oh yeah, no, it makes very little sense.
Yeah. So as if they could get rid of that aspect of this new character with him and just kept him being this badass who just goes in and beats people up, then I think it would work. But the whole, oh, the authority is out to get me, yada, 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 no. It just falls flat.
Yeah, no,
But,
definitely.
yeah. But all in all, it was a good segment. in my opinion. Next, after break, we have our opening contest scheduled for one fall.
Wonderful.
As Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns, like we discussed, face off. And this match is a decent match for as long as it went. This does not end in a clean finish. We get Jinder Mahal coming out of nowhere and attacking Reigns. And so it's a Roman technically, I guess, would win by disqualification. And so yeah, we get Jinder attacking Roman, and then, of course, which I'm kind of surprised about it, but not really, because they have been kind of fading away from the whole Shield thing. But, Jinder and KO double team Roman, and Seth Rollins comes in to make the save and attacks the heels, and then we go to break. What do you think of the match and then the post match stuff?
The match wasn't bad at all. I can't really complain about it. If others can, hey, that's fine. Everybody has different things that they like. It was a decent match between the two. I wasn't surprised that Seth came out. They still do hint at them, being friends and
that's true,
and such, and quite a bit, especially at house shows. I mean, there was quite a bit, depending on what you follow on this one webpage I follow. There was a lot of the two of them actually working together on the European tour. So it's I don't think it's that big of a stretch that they have him come out.
Oh no, I don't.
Yeah, but part of me was like, Dean. I was hoping we'd have a Dean come back. But
I'll talk about a comeback that I thought was gonna happen later on in the show that it ended up not happening too.
Yeah. So and then again, I actually was surprised when they went to commercial. They came back, and I didn't realize. I was like, oh, they went straight into a tag match.
Oh, I saw that coming. I mean, come on, really?
It's like, oh, you gotta be kidding me again.
It's the Tay Long special, player. But yeah, the one thing that was kind of funny, while they didn't directly mention it, it was still kind of funny because I thought of it. And honestly, and like I've said before, back, a couple of years ago, or even as recently as a year ago at this point, I was still a huge, Reigns detractor. But, ever since July and Great Balls of Fire, it's been, I've been much more pro-Roman. But, it was funny how, I forget if it was Corey or if it was, or if it was Coachman who said, like, that KO was a brawler and everything. And with the way Roman was working this match, KO was more of, and it's kind of ironic considering what their pasts are and, what the consensus thought on both of them is. KO was more of the brawler and, not very technical, whereas Reigns was more of the technical wrestler in this match.
I noticed that and thought of that as well. But Kevin is so versatile. Kevin's, nobody can deny that Kevin is pretty amazing. So I think the two of them actually, work well together, and it, it worked.
Oh yeah, it definitely worked. But yeah, like you mentioned, we come back from commercial and we get the Tay Long special tag match player as Jinder Mahal and Kevin Owens face off against the Mini Shield. We get a solid match here. Again, kind of. Well, oh no, never mind. I was gonna say it ended in shenanigans, but no. But it ends with Seth hitting the blackout on KO after missing the first one. He's like he misses the first one, but KO still keeps his head down like a dummy, and and Seth is just like, "Oh, you're still there." Boom, done. So yeah, I mean, it was a solid match. What do you think of this?
Pretty solid match. Had some good moments. I always get a kick out of it when, excuse me, one of them stays in any match. One of them stays in a position so long, it's like, you could have built a house, you know, by the time they're done.
No.
It wasn't bad, like I said, I actually for some reason was surprised when they came back. I'm like, wait, they're wrestling? They're still there.
I saw it. Yeah. Well, no, see, I didn't think it was going to happen right away. I thought
that's what I thought. Oh, that's going to be the main event.
That's going to be the main event. Yeah. That's what I thought too. But then once they came back and they were wrestling, I was like, oh, okay, they made the tag match right away.
Right.
But yeah. Yeah, there were some good moments in this match, especially with Seth once he got in the match. Trying to hit the ripcord knee and miss it and not being able to get it. It was just a good match. And then were you gonna say something?
No, I was gonna say, like I said earlier, you can't really knock it. I think if people do, it's just people being bitter and naysayers.
Yeah, pretty much. Hey, you know what? You had 3 good technical wrestlers and Jinder Mahal in the match.
Oh my god! And then for the second time on the night, they Jinder comes out, does his BS again. And again, I'm going, oh, Dean.
Yeah.
No, Dean.
I think I think they're gonna save. Well, first off, I don't know, because the last I heard was he was still in Alabama, so I don't think he's fully ready to come back yet. I don't think he's even cleared yet. But when he does get cleared, I think they're gonna wait for a big moment to swing him. They're not just gonna have him return on a random episode of Raw.
No,
I could totally I don't know. Again, I don't know what his timeline is at this point. But I could totally see him coming in to help someone at SummerSlam or doing something like that. I think SummerSlam is the most likely time that we next see him. But yes, like you said, after the match, Jinder has a chair and beats the Shield guys down and leaves them both laying. And yeah. Typical heel beatdown, which results in something later. I guess we'll talk about that later when it pops up. We get more promo about Sami Zayn's whole thing. And yeah, we go to break, and hey, guess what? That's next. You ready for this? No. Well, you better be, because it's now. Ready or not, here it comes. This was painful. I'm not even going to try to describe what happened. Pretty much, let me just try to explain this. It was pretty much the Bayley This Is Your Life disaster. Did I or did I not call that last week? That this was going to be just like Bayley This Is Your Life.
I was, as the nonsense started, I was like, we totally called it. We knew that it was either it was going to be such trash.
Yep. I mean, you knew it was trash as soon as the dude dressed in drag came out as his quote unquote sisters. As soon as that happened, I just tuned out. I hardly even paid attention to this whole thing. It was painful to watch. Basically, Sami brought out a bunch of dudes dressed in drag, acting as Bobby's sisters, and yeah, and just them talking down Bobby, and then finally Bobby came out to save us from this disaster, and beat down all four of them, including Sami, and that was that pretty much. Yeah, I'm not even gonna try to describe this in detail. That's all you really need to know about this. And it's funny. I said on the chat, I was like, well, I guess this is the way that they're gonna redeem themselves from such a bad reception from the interview, because I know I wasn't the only one. I don't know, because I don't think you were on the show when that interview, or were you?
I think it was, because I hated it too.
Because it just completely undermined his whole badass character.
Yeah.
So, like, this was their way of kind of redeeming themselves from undermining his character with that god-awful interview by now beating down Sami and these three, whoever the frick there are.
I'm not even going to start on it because we'll be here the rest of the night. I mean, as soon as
give me the give me the Cliff Notes version of it.
You know what? We all knew it was going to be stupid.
Oh yeah,
we knew it was going to be idiotic. I think that they could have obviously you wouldn't have Bobby, beat up women, so that's why it was men in drag. But they were so stereotypical. It was so racist on so many levels and so stereotypical. It just.
Well, yeah, the whole Sami Zayn the comment that he made at the beginning that he can see the Lashley resemblance. Yeah, that was just cringeworthy.
Yeah, even the way they had them dressed, with the like menial jobs, in such a way. There was so much wrong with it that you have to wonder who the hell was behind it.
Oh, I know exactly who was behind it.
I'm sure we know Vince is behind it, but it's like nobody has. I didn't even go on Twitter to read about it because I couldn't.
I could only imagine.
I can only imagine what Twitter was saying. I could not go down that rabbit hole.
I now that you made me think about it, I kind of want to now.
Yeah, I know. I probably will tomorrow. It was so awful. I was so disgusted and so turned off in the first few seconds. I actually didn't even watch the segment.
Oh no! I had it on still, and I was kind of listening to it in the background.
I turned the channel. I did not even keep it on. It was so horrible on so many different levels.
I just kept it on so that I could talk about how terrible it was. But like I said, I was only half paying attention to it.
Yeah, I'm only talking about it because you insisted.
I'm sorry. We had to. I just want. It was also because I kind of wanted to rip it to shreds.
Yeah, it's you know what? It's up there like with Katie Vick.
Oh God.
You know what? May giving birth to a hand was better than this.
That's saying something. Let's not quite go that far. Yeah, we've stayed on this long enough. We get a recap of Nia challenging Rousey last week, and some hype for the contract signing. Then we get Ember Moon making an entrance for a match. Coming back from the break, we get Alexa Bliss interviewed backstage. She talks about this. Are you trying to make yourself sound intelligent here? Because you failed miserably, Alexa. Please never try this again. This is almost as bad as Bayley, This Is Your Life. she's talking about the Visigoths sacking Rome in 410 and yada yada yada. She's trying to make make herself sound all smart, and it's just falling flat. If you're gonna do this with someone else, then so be it. But Oh, speaking of this segment, and I forget if it was like earlier on in the show or like later when they showed something with they did like a did you know type of thing with talking about how Xavier has a PhD and everything. And I turned to Tori and I was like, I know I don't want this to happen, and I know I'm jinxing us already by saying this, but if and when New Day ever does break up, yes, I know I've already jinxed it, but if they ever were to turn Xavier heel, I would love to see him become like a Damian Sandow type character, and use the fact that he has a PhD to his advantage for that.
He could be like new what was Lenny Poffo's what was Lenny Poffo's character's name?
Oh, I know what you're talking about, but I forget what his name was.
Yeah, either he could be the new one, like that. And now when that happens, Brandon, I'll just have to send you some anonymous threats there for me.
Yeah. If I get the New Day broken up, you can send all hate mail to me. That's my bad. My bad.
I actually missed that. Did you know?
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
But yeah, as soon as I said it, I was like, that would be kind of cool to see him like become like the new intellectual savior of the masses type.
Does he actually have his PhD?
Yes,
now?
I believe so.
Okay.
That's what that's what the Did You Know said. So I'm assuming
thought so too, but I thought so too, but I heard conflicting now.
Yeah.
But
He's
anyway.
either still finishing it, or at this point he might have gotten it already.
I think he does.
But was this just as cringeworthy to you as it was to me? Her trying to act all like intellectual and shit.
Yeah, I don't think it was that horrible. I mean, it's like one of those like. I think she plays the character very well in the tough girl. Oh, look how smart I am, and all these analogies and whatnot, but I think she played it well, but it didn't do anything to me either. It was it was weird. It was weird.
And the funny thing about it, though, that makes it even stupider, and I mean, I guess it's kind of fitting because she lost again, but she says that that tonight will be a fair fight and the Romans will win, but like, her reference was during the fall of Rome. That's when Rome was collapsing. So like, Rome still lost, Alexa.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess she was saying this time would be different, but it didn't make any sense.
No, it didn't. And especially since I'm a history buff, I know like that what she said at the end isn't actually true. Like, they lost. Right, they got the whole city got destroyed.
Exactly.
So yeah, our next contest scheduled for one fall is the now apparently intellectual but not smart Alexa Bliss versus Ember Moon. And like I mentioned, Ember Moon pins her with the Eclipse. Alexa got some offense for a little bit, but then, and Mickey tried to make her presence known. The best part of this match was, Mickey coming into the ring because she thought the ref was distracted, trying to use her shoe to attack, Ember, and the ref turns around and is like, "Hey, what are you doing in the ring? You're out of here."
Yeah, when she hit her shoe behind her back, I laughed. And a little temper tantrum.
Oh yeah, oh god, that was funny.
That was great. It wasn't a bad match, you know.
I mean, it was basically your prototypical heels trying to cheat match where you're anticipating the heels winning through some sort of distraction or roll
Mm-hmm.
up or whatnot, because they had, as as Mickey was leaving and Ember was kind of like laughing at her and saying bye, they had Alexa roll her up, and you're thinking, oh, of course, a roll up win through distraction. But then she managed to kick out, so.
Yeah, no, it was a pretty decently paced match.
Mm-hmm.
Fun little outcome.
Yep.
Furthers the feud.
Yep. Next after that, we got Finn and Braun going into what's supposed to be Kurt Angle's office, but Stephanie's in there. Surprise, surprise. And the funny thing was Braun taking the apple after it was offered. That was funny. They asked for a rematch against Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre because, they lost last week. But Stephanie is like, no, I'm not going to help you guys. I'm evil, pretty much. And says they're not a regular tag team, and they're going to be facing each other at Money in the Bank. And tries to put some dissension between the two, which I would have thought it should have been the other way around on this. She says that she thinks Finn blames Braun for the loss last week, when it should have been the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of stupid. And she, books them in a match against each other, and then Braun crushes the apple and says he likes competition. That was funny. But yeah, this is pretty basic, Stephanie retaking over, and now we have to deal with even more BS with her. Lovely!
Woohoo.
What?
Woohoo.
Woohoo. Yeah, pretty much. Next we get No Way Jose coming in. And our next match, scheduled for one fall, is between the aforementioned No Way Jose and Baron Corbin. This was a fairly solid match. Jose got some offense in, but it was a fairly quick match, and Braun wins with the end of days. What do you think of this match?
I still hate his gimmick. I hate all the freaking dancing people. I hate them. Anyway, I'm sure they're lovely people, but I hate them. I'm just over it. But, like you had said to me, in the ring, he's, really good. I've been enjoying the little we've really, got to see him. But I think they need to start doing more with Jose in some other segments or whatever, because I don't know, it seems like every other match he's, losing.
Well, I mean, the first match he managed to win, which was a shock, it was because of a roll-up, but, this is the problem that WWE has, is, like, they put guys up against each other where both of them really need the push. They really need that rub. And so, who's going to take the pin on this one? That's why you get all this 50-50 booking. So this is one of those where it's like, I mean, I was half expecting them to squash Jose from the get-go, so I was happily surprised that he won a couple of matches against Corbin. But now it looks like they're kind of going back and giving Corbin some wins to keep his push going. So, we'll see where these two go. They're two guys that right now kind of look like they're in limbo. So we'll see what happens there. After that, we get Kurt on his phone, when Chad Gable comes in, says he's been looking for him, but Stephanie was in his office, and Angle claims that he likes it out there, but the cell service sucks. Well, no kidding, Kurt. Yeah, and then he wanted to tell Gable, I think you mentioned this last week. You were like, I wonder who that person that Kurt was talking about that he wanted to put in the match instead of KO. And we found out here. It was Gable. But Stephanie had other plans, obviously. Chad says that means a lot, and when he gets an opportunity, he'll make the most of it. Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler come in, making fun of Gable and whatnot. And they're like, we'd love to be Finn and Braun up again, but they can't now, obviously. And back and forth between Gable and McIntyre. Well, Gable and Ziggler. And this was kind of funny, like Dolph asking, "What's your claim to fame? You're a great amateur. So is everyone." Like, and he kind of nudges at Kurt.
I thought it was hysterical.
What?
I thought that was hysterical.
Oh yeah, so did I. It would have worked better if all four of them were actually great amateurs, because I don't think McIntyre did any amateur wrestling. Yeah. So he was kind of left out on that one. And, Kurt says, let's hold this in the ring, and they get a match, and then tells them to leave. Yada, yada, yada. Not a bad segment, but not one of the best either.
Yeah, no, definitely not. It was, in some ways it was a little odd. They have this whole thing with Chad where he's like he's like Scrappy Doo, he's always ready to take on the bigger guy and, give it his all.
Yep. Well, hey, they're basically rehashing what they did with his ex-partner on Raw.
Yeah, that is true, actually. I didn't think of
that. Excuse me. After commercial, we get a hand cam promo where, first off, before we go to break, we get the B Team's new entrance music, which was, meh, not great.
Yeah, it was very B-teamy, I guess.
Yeah, really. So back from break, we get a hand cam promo where Breezango runs down the B Team and says their shirts are good, but we're gonna prove there's only room for one B Team on Raw. Hardy har har har. Yeah, this was one of those matches that was kind of just there. It was pretty much a squash for the B Team, which we talked about it. They haven't really advanced past jobber teams yet, but another quick win for the B Team.
Yeah, it was the same. It was a rematch from last week, right?
I thought.
Did they take them on last week?
Did they face Breezango? Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, you're right. So yeah, it was just a rematch between these two teams again. So they've only faced Breezango.
They're over the top celebrating is.
Oh God, that was just painful to watch.
It's entertaining. When he was laying on the announcer's table, that was.
I was just like, what the hell are they doing? Yeah, that was cringeworthy.
Definitely.
Back after the commercial break, we get Stephanie in the ring with a desk to preside over the women's championship contract signing. We get the two coming out. Stephanie pretty much asking them different questions to try to antagonize both of them. And Nia's the first to break, and she, basically says, yeah, I'm trying to make a name for myself at your expense, and they do a stare down. Rousey says that she's going to break her arm, or take her title and take her arm. This was another kind of cringe. Not quite as bad as the whole Sami and Bobby thing, but this was still pretty bad. I was hoping that this would go in a different direction, and it's kind of stupid that, at least it seems to me, maybe I'm looking a little too far into this, that already, hey, we can't have face on face. We have to turn one of these two heels, or one of these two heel. And, Rousey is our big money maker now, so we can't turn her heel. So we gotta turn Nia back heel again after, 3 months worth of her being a face? Less than that? 2 months?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was kind of hoping that they both would, ignored Stephanie.
Oh, well, I was hoping that they would both, basically be like, we see what you're trying to do here.
Exactly.
It's not gonna work. And then,
exactly.
I was even calling the shot. I was saying, Nia picks Stephanie up, Samoan drops her through the table, followed by a Rousey armbar.
Mm-hmm. Anything would have been more entertaining than that. I mean, Ronda did finally show a little bit of some emotion there at the end. She has a very flat, affect.
Well, I think that's more so just because she hasn't had to do it.
No, I know that, but I'm just saying, but that's part of why you have to put the blame on the mall. I mean, Stephanie's nonsense was Stephanie's usual over the top, crap. I was really hoping they would have, called her out on it and been like, whatever. But of course they went, this route, and we got what we got.
Yep. Yeah, so that was that. After that, we've got the following contest scheduled for one fall.
One fall.
As Chad Gable and Dolph Ziggler have what I was expecting to be a pretty solid, technical match, but, it wasn't terrible, but, it wasn't as good as these two could have done.
Yeah, given the proper time, and just some storytelling and whatnot, I think they could have put on a great match. Both, of course, extremely talented and totally capable. I did like the little nods that they had to, the amateur wrestling.
Well, yeah, but
carrying it to what they said earlier, but it was alright. You had Drew lurking, around the ring, which I'm not gonna complain about. It's true, but yeah, it was okay. It was one of those there matches.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was one of those matches that was just kind of there. Ziggler picks up the win with a super kick. After that, we have Drew hit the ring and hit the Claymore on Gable. And now this is where I can talk about something you were talking about earlier with Ambrose. I was calling throughout this match. I was like, watch, they're going to do a double team on him. And then Jordan's music's going to hit and he's going to save Gable. But we never got it. I thought I heard that he was cleared now. So we'll see what happens with that. But yeah. Next we get the Money in the Bank Fatal 4-Way qualifying match between Dana Brooke, Liv Morgan, Natalya, and Sarah Logan. This this was another one that was kind of just like I saw what was coming, because the only person that is really of any note in this match is Natalya.
Right.
So we all saw Natalya winning this one.
And deservedly so.
Yes, yes. Not a terrible match, but, with two newer women on the main roster and one that hasn't really done much work lately, not exactly the biggest match in the world.
Yeah, no surprises there.
No. Natalya's interviewed after and says she's got Ronda Rousey as her training partner, and they're going to be champion and Miss Money in the Bank together after the pay-per-view, which I don't see how that's going to work, but okay. Unless that'll be the impetus for the Natalya versus Rousey match that we all have, been predicting.
So it'll be like our 18th friendly rivalry that turns into hatred
Pretty
for the
much.
year.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's. Let's see. The theme for the theme for 2017/2018 so far has been friendly rivalries turned into your typical wrestling feuds, and mashed up tag teams.
Yeah.
And after that, we get Elias in the ring to sing us a song, which I was honestly shocked that he actually got this far through it, because I was half expecting, like Bobby to interrupt him before he even said anything, like kind of like what he did last week, just even worse. But instead, he gets this time. And he actually references a lot of, like, behind-the-scenes stuff here, which I was shocked at.
I'll have to go back and listen. I didn't really get to...
He talks about how WWE stock has risen by 150%. And he says, like, he talks about NBC Universal. Like, he talks directly about a lot of the behind-the-scenes stuff that a lot of us have been talking about recently.
Yeah, I heard the NBC Universal part.
Yeah. But he basically takes credit for the WWE stock going so high, which was funny.
Everybody's walking with Elias.
Yep, exactly. And he talks about how soul-crushing it is to be in Albany, and, and then Bobby interrupts him. So the following contest, scheduled for one fall, is Bobby Roode versus Elias. And this was actually a decent match. Both of them got some offense in. Bobby almost had Elias for the glorious DDT, but Elias moved out of the way. And Elias eventually wins by pinfall with the drift away.
Was this also a rematch from last week, or am I crazy?
I believe you are correct.
Yeah. It was a good match. I was glad that Elias picked up the win, like you were saying, with Baron and Jose. They're just trading wins back and forth for people who need them.
Yep, but let's completely disregard the match. The best part of this whole thing was what happens immediately after the match. Would you have to agree?
Oh my god, I laughed out loud.
Oh, so did I. As soon as Elias was walking on the ramp right at the entranceway, and you just hear bronze music hit, and I knew right away. I was like, Elias, you better move out of the way or run. And instead, he stands there like a deer in headlights, and boom, he gets run the hell over by Braun.
As soon as it hit, you're like, okay, he's gonna beat somebody up or something. Yep. That just made me laugh.
Oh yes, it did. So that brings us to the next break. Back from commercial, we get Cole informing us that Seth Rollins will face Jinder Mahal for the Intercontinental title next week. No, not a huge surprise there, but like I said, we were going to talk about that later. The whole beatdown and everything results in Jinder getting a title shot. And then we get a gauntlet match as well for the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. So the main event scheduled for one fall is Braun Strowman versus Finn Balor, and I am very happy with this match. Granted, I would have liked to have seen Finn at least hit like maybe one coup de grace or something, and get a 2 count or something to make it even closer than it already was.
Right.
But the fact that they gave Finn the time to get some offense in and actually have a legitimate shot here, and get some real work in, and actually look credible against Braun is a very good sign. And the fact that he got the main event, obviously.
Right. It wasn't a bad match at all. Had some very entertaining, moments to it.
Mm-hmm.
I was glad as well that Finn, had the time to get, the offense, and it wasn't just Braun squashing
Yep.
the smaller guy.
Yep. But yeah, this was a good match. And Finn almost got a count out victory too, after knocking Braun down, and it was just a solid match. Then after the match, this was kind of weird. I didn't fully understand this. Why Braun scooped him up and put him half on the he kind of leaned him up against the ropes, up against the middle rope.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it was as a sign of respect, but it was just kind of weird.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. I don't know. Probably as a sign of respect.
But yeah, so yeah, that's the show. 1 to 10 rating?
5.
5? Really? You're gonna go that low?
I'm gonna go that low because so much of it was disjointed, and I mean, there was some really good stuff. There was some what the hell are they doing stuff, and strictly for how horrible the Sami segment was, I'm giving it a 5.
Okay.
I had to turn the channel, it's that bad.
Yes. I completely understand. I'm gonna go a little higher, which is gonna be ironic because of the word I'm gonna use for the show tonight. But I'm gonna go a little higher just because of some of the matches that happened in this show. I'm gonna go with a 6, just because some of the matches were good. If we were just talking about segments, then it would be a 4 or 5. I completely agree with you. But just for the matches kind of, redeeming it a little bit, I'll go with a 6. Your one-word review?
I'm torn between 2 words, so I'm going to give you both words because they kind of go together.
Okay.
Disjointed and disconnected.
Okay.
The show didn't really... There were parts of it that flowed, but they get carried away with all of their packages and recaps, and nonsense. And the interview with Alexa, the contract signing, the whole thing, with Sami, it was 10 steps backwards. In a lot of ways. Like you said, the matches for the most part were pretty solid, but I just felt like, I don't know, I just felt like it was disjointed, it was disconnected, it didn't really seem to flow, and it felt like it just felt like they were going backwards in some ways.
Yeah, my word is very close to yours, and I used it I think I used it twice on this podcast in terms of 2 segments. And a quick disclaimer, this is mostly just talking about 2 segments. But these 2 segments really set the bar for this show. The rest of the show wasn't bad. The opening segment was okay, and like I said, the matches were good. But overall, because of the 2 segments that we most talked about, my word for the night is cringeworthy.
Yes.
Those 2 segments alone, it was just painful to watch. And, we talk about it on pay-per-views when it comes to the matches and finishes of matches, but I'll talk about it here in terms of these 2 segments. A lot of times we'll be talking about a pay-per-view and say, oh, the match was great, but then the finish was terrible, and it completely destroyed what you thought of the whole match.
Right.
Same thing happened here with this show. The matches were fine, but the 2 big segments that they were promoting and that were the main focal point of this show were absolutely cringeworthy, and it completely destroyed your thought of the whole show.
Yes, absolutely.
So, yeah, that's our review for the disaster that was Monday Night Raw this week. Hey, you want to do this again tomorrow?
You know what? Why don't we do it twice tomorrow?
Yes. Is the King joining back again tomorrow?
I don't think so. I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, it may just be us. It may be Harry and us. We'll see.
Maybe we'll have a special guest. Who knows?
You'll find out tomorrow night for SmackDown Live and 205 Live. And then myself and someone, hey, maybe you can join for a second week in a row and get your second dose of NXT next week.
You never know.
We'll see. So be sure to tune in for all of that throughout the week here on the Wrestling to the Max Network. For Liz Pugliese, I'm Brandon Biskobing saying so long, and we'll talk to you guys tomorrow. See ya.